Hello everybody and welcome to Community Forum. My name is Ron Vecchia and joining me today, I was going to say tonight but it is today, is a good friend, a guy that's been doing some great things in the town of Winthrop along with the town council and our town manager and all the various departments. We thought it was about time we brought Peter Gill back in to give us an update on what's going on. Peter is the president of the Winthrop Town Council. Peter, welcome to Community Forum.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks.
How's the summer going?
Going very well.
Yeah?
Going too fast.
Well, driving around this town, I see so many positive things happening. And I know you were on, the last time you were on, a lot of these projects that are now coming to fruition hadn't really gotten off the ground. But let's get an update. Let's kind of take a tour around the town, and as you folks will see, you'll actually see video of the different areas we're talking about. So let's start maybe at the top of the beach at the Dalrymple School, that particular project. What's going on there? It looks like it's about 85 to 95% complete, at least from the outside.
Dalrymple School is looking good. Actually, I took a walk through the Dalrymple, the hospital, and the temple all last week. Mm-hmm. And they're all great projects. They're really coming along well, and they're on schedule. Mm-hmm. We expect to have all three of them open before the end of the year.
That's good.
Up at the Dalrymple, the views are phenomenal. There's a lot of historic stuff that's being maintained there. Mm-hmm. They got historic grants, historic monies as part of their funding. So they've had to maintain some of the stuff, and it is really attractive. Yeah. And it's moving along really, really nicely.
No, I know when you talk about maintaining some of the things, I know when they did the Chase School, they incorporated the use of some of the chalkboards and so forth, and some of the original doors, that the fire doors are still there. Is that the case there as well? Yep.
Some of the rooms still have the chalkboards. Mm-hmm. It's attractive. I'm not sure everybody would like it. Mm-hmm. The old floors, they're not covering, they're sanding them. The hallways where woodwork had been taken out for renovations and stuff, they're putting it back in, and they're matching what it used to be. Mm-hmm. Some fine craftsmanship going on there.
For the folks at home that don't understand that project, that is going on the tax rolls. That is for folks 55 and above?
62.
62. I thought it was 55.
No.
Interesting. So if you're 62 or older, and you have to qualify under certain guidelines in terms of your income and so forth.
Right.
And if somebody wanted to apply for that, what would they do?
The application process is a lottery. Mm-hmm. The lottery actually had a deadline on that particular one. The deadline is gone. Mm-hmm. They've had more than enough applications. Oh, I can imagine. But they're going to do it as a lottery. There is a Winthrop, what do you call it, Winthrop preference in it, a percentage, and I forget exactly what it is. Right. A percentage of the lottery has to go to Winthrop people if they want it. Right. But they said they've had tremendous, I think like 200 applications already for the lottery. And it's such a nice spot, and the restoration of it isn't something where they're taking out the old stuff and putting in new stuff. Mm-hmm. Even if you look at the windows, the big 6x6s that are there in the original openings. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very impressive. Yeah,
very nice, very nice. Are they going to do anything with the stack that's back there?
That's interesting. Yeah. They wanted to take the stack down. Mm-hmm. Part of the historical grant said no, because the stack was there at such and such a time, mm-hmm. and because it was there at such and such a time, you have to leave it or you don't get the historical grant. Right. It's non-functioning, mm-hmm. It's not attractive, it's in the way. Because it was part of the historical thing, it has to stay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. All right, so we're at the Dalrymple. Let's kind of go down the beach. When someone drives up Crest Ave and onto Shore Drive, the first thing they see, it looks like you're in Dubai, where they started creating their own island. Yep. And that's basically what's going on up at the beach right now.
When the project was being in the planning stages, there were a lot of concerns. A lot of people had significant concerns. I think everybody thought the best thing to do would be to bring the sand in from out in the ocean, and it would have been, but they met all kinds of stumbling blocks there. Right. When they decided they were going to truck the sand from Saugus, lots of people felt that was going to be really bad. I've observed the trucking, And it's amazing how many people have come to me now, and it's a flip. Instead of a lot of people being in favor and excited, I mean, that's what we're getting now. A lot of people in favor, very few people coming up and saying, oh, this is horrible. I've watched the trucks come in, and the reason they're escorted by police cars is so that they come to Winthrop nonstop. Imagine the issue if they went to every rotary they went to, or every place they went, they had to stop and merge with cars and get rolling again. I watched they're coming in anywhere from 2 to 11 in a group. And I watched them a couple of times. The day that 11 came in, they came in, went on to the beach, and I said, well, probably in a half hour or so they'll get back out. The 11 trucks were dumped and back on the road in 15 minutes. The process that's taking place there was difficult to understand how and why they could use so much sand. What happened over the years was, as sand pulled away, more surf was coming over the wall. So when we were kids, or when I was a kid, the whole beach was pipes, like it's way up at the top now. It was pipes, vertical and horizontal.
Actually, there was still, when I grew up on Irwin Street, we still had them. I remember when they put the walls, they were granite pieces of rock.
Yep.
But I can remember that. And there was a step down from there, maybe 3 or 4 feet to the beach.
So now what they're doing is the south end of the north end of the beach, which is up in the Highlands area, all washed away. What they're doing now is they're restoring so that the beach will be a couple of 100 feet deep for the whole thing.
So as you're driving on from Crest Ave onto Shore Drive, and you look down, that fill is eventually going to make its way down and taper into the corner where the higher wall is, and where the railing remains. That's not going to come up that far, obviously, but at some particular point, it's going to taper off. I was told that when the project is complete, as an example, at the top of Coral Avenue, if you stand on the wall, the sand will be 5 feet below the wall.
Exactly.
And which is a good thing. I mean, you're going to have a more usable area for the beach. The only problem is there's no place to park because, as you can see, we're in a residential area, so if there's only a certain amount of people that will be able to come by car, the rest will have to come by public transportation. And
what we find is when a place is successful, one of the best problems to have is no parking, because that means it's being used. Back to the Dalrymple School, behind the Dalrymple School, going down Grover's Ave, there's a piece of land that everybody always thought was part of the school. It was actually a railroad access for the narrow gauge. When new owners took over, it was discovered that that's town land. Part of the negotiation package with the new owners was they're going to develop that into a public parking lot. Not for them, but for the public, which will help the parking situation at the beach. When you come along the beach where you were talking about, it goes up. And the reason it goes up is because that was part of the train used to go under it. That won't be the same 5 feet as down at Coral and Irwin because it's such a significant hop. But what happened over the years was, we saw, if you walk the beach, you'll see that it went from railing to wall, then to another wall. And the idea was that you stop the surf so it doesn't come over. What actually happens is, because of the sand being gone, the surf runs, hits the wall, and comes over. So the new engineering says, instead of that, you add sand and taper it, so that as the water comes up, it loses momentum. By the time it gets to the wall, theoretically, it's dead. That's not going. It's not going to self-maintain. It's going to have to be maintained. But part of the process too is they're rebuilding what they call the groins. We used to call them the jetties. If you go to the spot where you were talking about again, up near the Highlands, you'll see that they've come out with a jetty, and then along the beach you can see visibly there's jetties that are running parallel with the road. The idea of those jetties is they're going to maintain the level of the sand. So it's a pretty complex project. And then again at the Highlands end, there's going to be another whole jetty to stop the sweep.
Okay. Now, there was a jetty at the top of Coral, and I remember they removed that, and of course now there's sand. if you were to stand at the top of Coral, they actually took away the wall so that they can do the construction.
Where they're going in and out, right.
Now, my understanding is they're going to rebuild the jetties afterwards. Is that correct?
My understanding that the jetties were going to be all done before the sand
Really?
hits.
Interesting.
And it appears that some of the jetties have been covered because they feel that it's not necessary for the jetty to be exposed
Right.
to be.
It's all the movement under the water. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing they discovered with the jetties was several years ago they capped them all, only to find out that that's the wrong thing to do because there's no flow through.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
Now, the project itself, Peter, as far as the sand, what are they projecting? How long will that go on, the actual placement of the sand?
it'll stop for the winter, resume in the spring, and probably in the summer they will finish
So it'll
with
go
the sand.
probably through next summer.
Right.
And then when that project is complete, I understand the infrastructure of the new streets, the new sewers, sidewalks, they're going to be widening of the sidewalks, there'll be bump outs and so forth. That'll then take place a year from now. So
Right.
the project's got about 2 years. till
Just
its
about 2
completion.
years to go.
Okay,
Yep.
very good.
And I was talking to the engineer the other day, and he said they're on schedule. They started to slip a little bit in the schedule, and they asked permission to work Saturdays. And the council said you can work Saturdays as long as you're on the beach with no trucks coming in.
Right.
So they've been doing a little bit of that.
I also heard that they were going to, the sand, there's going to be additional sand put over that sand. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard.
Because that sand has that kind of orangey look as the sand did when they did Revere Beach.
Right.
And of course, the sand that was originally on Shore Drive was kind of that grayish kind of sand. And I had heard that they were going to eventually cap it off with additional sand.
I didn't hear, what I did hear is that the theory is that sand will bleach because as it's exposed directly to the sun over a period of time, it will bleach. Probably never to match the exact color that was there before.
Great, great. That's a big deal. And you know, it's funny as that goes on. If you drive the beach and if you drive the side streets off the beach, there's a lot going on in terms of private homes.
Yes.
There's a lot of contractors out there that have been buying and flipping them, buying distressed property and fixing them over and so forth. So it's kind of nice to see.
If you go all the way to the south end of the beach, there's a property that it looks like a 6-family, but it's a huge 3.
It used to be all brick in the front.
Yes,
Yep.
and it's been vacant for years. A new owner went in there, is doing it all over. And there's a couple of other properties directly on the beach that are being done over. And then going down Beacon Street, there's a house that was in real tough condition, and the town took it in a receivership, and it's being all done over, and then will be resold. And there's actually 5 of them in town right now.
Yeah, tell me about that. I was talking to the chief about that. Chief Delahanty mentioned that several pieces of property now are being sought after by the town for various reasons. How does that whole process work?
What happened was we passed with some opposition, we passed an inspection ordinance.
Right.
The idea behind the inspection ordinance was to address these issues and to make our properties safer, more attractive, and as they become more attractive, and what you were talking about earlier, the whole town feels the attractiveness, then we're attracting a different type of resident, and property values going up. So as a result of the inspection ordinance, some of these properties were discovered. And the process is that the property it's attempted to work out an arrangement with the owner. If that can't happen, then the town has the right to take it under receivership. They go to court. A receiver is chosen by the court. The receiver goes in then and fixes the property, turns around and sells it. He doesn't make the profit that an investor who was a flipper would make.
Right.
What the receiver gets is his cost plus his profit. Then the property is sold. The town gets all of their back taxes, all of their water before that happens. And then if there's anything left, it goes to either the person, if the person is still surviving, or the person's estate. So there's no real profit made on it, but it's
But it cleans up a neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice, nice.
Because if you have one, it's the old broken window theory. You have one house that's in terrible condition, the others tend to go, and you fix that one up the other's tender. So that's
Now, you've got a couple of those going around town. I know there's one up in the Highlands, and there's some down the beach.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Very
I
good.
don't feel comfortable giving the addresses at
No,
this point.
no, I totally agree. Okay, so we've come down the beach. What else is down the beach?
Temple.
Well, the temple. That's right. We go down to Veterans Road in the corner of Hadassah Way, which is actually the extension of Coral.
That's right.
That's what it
Yep.
was. And that thing is just coming right along.
It is. It's moved. That was another one that was held up with financing, but once they got going, it's really moving. And that was an interesting walk through that the other day. Part of their process was they agreed to do some significant renovation, cleaning up inside of the temple itself.
Mhm.
Initially, the temple was going to be taken down.
Right.
A smaller one was going to be built.
Right.
They decided that it made more economic sense to leave that and then go out the other way. That piece is ready to open within 2 weeks, the temple. They've done the kitchen over, made some offices in there, petitioned off some parts. The other piece is all one bedroom and studios, and that's due to open late November, early December.
Now, who qualifies there?
That also is income, and the rent is based on income. There are either 3 or 4 units that are market rent, and the rest are based on someone's income.
And is there a cutoff age of age?
62. All 3 of them are
as well?
62.
62.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Now, I understand they're doing some improvements across on Veterans Road in that area that needs a lot of work. Those revetments are there that are between
The ditch.
the ditch between the street and the golf course.
When the temple contractor was initially putting his package together, the planning board chairman, Peter Roach, went down and said, well, if you're going to do this and this, and why can't you go across the street and do the rail? So they agreed to, I think they're doing 500 feet of rail, which sparked the DPW to start the rail back a little further.
Right.
The goal is to have the rail run all of Veterans Road.
Right.
They're in the process now of cutting down a lot of the bushes, that's all overgrown stuff. And then the pie in the sky, we're hoping, we're very close to getting a grant that's going to take the ditch from the high school to Lewis Lake and clean it.
Nice.
One of the problems now is that the ditch doesn't flow because of all the vegetation.
Right.
It's complicated because it's conservation land, so you have to be careful what you do.
Right.
In fact, the contractor had given some fill to the golf course to make it like a berm on their side of the ditch. Come to find out, the fill had to all be removed because one of the conditions on the construction of the temple was any fill that's taken out had to go out of town.
Right.
So Steve Caller is working on the order of conditions to get the swale, the ditch going, because that actually drains Elmont, Sagamore, all of those.
Sure.
And
it's a big deal when there's northeast storms in the wintertime. Of course, hopefully, eventually, we won't have to deal as badly with that because of the new situation up on Shore Drive.
The south end of the beach, for the first time in 40 years, got no flooding on the side streets.
All right. So we're driving down Veterans, and we're going to take a right onto Washington Ave, and we're up on Pleasant, and lo and behold, it's the Winthrop Hospital.
It is. When the Winthrop Hospital closed, my wife said to me, wouldn't that be a great place for assisted living? I said, yeah, that'd be nice. But anyway, neighborhood concerns over the years. It took a long time. Finally, the developer got approval for condominiums, and they were fighting whether it was going to be 60 or 90 or 80 or 70. Once they got their approval, they decided to sell it. And the company that came in and bought it said, we really could do that, but we think a better use would be assisted living. So they put their package together, presented it to the neighborhood. The neighborhood said, wow, that's much better. Much more green space, instead of 90 parking spaces, they only need about 45. That too is underway. There was a snag. They hit a snag. The piece that faced the facade that faces Pleasant Street, there was a specific design approved, and they needed to make some changes, and they went and made the changes without going back to the planning board. When the planning board saw the changes, they put a cease and desist on them. So they're in the process now. They didn't shut down the whole project, but they shut down the facade on the Pleasant Street side, and they're in the process of renegotiating that now to get something that's more pretty, more, because we want to keep it Winthrop. We don't want it to look like a factory.
Right.
And the latest thing that they're doing now, there's a generator issue. They have an emergency generator, and there's a location issue on that.
Okay.
Planning board's right on top of them.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Speaking of the planning board, while we're in that area, let's go in the center. There's been a new zoning approved by the council via the planning board. They did a lot of work on it. How does that change the perspective of a businessman investing in the center and growth opportunities, so to speak?
The proposal that they put in is specifically for the center, and some people felt it should be for the whole town, but the center is unique, as is the Highlands unique. So the feeling was, let's start with the center, and then we'll move into the others individually.
Right.
The planning board involved the Mass Area Planning Council, and they came in with all kinds of research and all kinds of proposals. And after many, many months and many, many hours, they came up with this proposal that part of it simplifies the permitting process. One simple example, when they wanted to open the yogurt store down in the mall, that had never been a restaurant before, so it had to go through a whole series of applications. Now the Center Business District said, if it's a business district and has been business, then you can do business. You don't have to go through all the hoops.
That's good.
And that's just one simple piece of it.
It's a simple thing, but it's very important, because when you think about a person, making some type of a plan to open a business, and they have to, if they have to, first of all, pay rent for that particular space while this process goes on with the town for approval, because it's changed its use. So the process might go on for a year, or 6 months, or 7 months, and during that period of time, instead of the person being open or actively, working on being open, it's still tied up, but they're still paying rent, if you know what I'm saying. So
and unsure if it's ever going to go through.
Right. So it's a huge thing. It's huge. After speaking to a lot of businessmen in the town, that is huge. Not having to go through those, processes now where, it was a restaurant, it's not a restaurant anymore, so now it reverts to a different use. Now you've got to go to the appeals board and the whole process. You got to go, first of all, it's not even the process. You've got to go to the building inspector first. He's got to deny it. Then it's got to go to the Board of Appeals, and they've got to approve it. And in many cases, even the planning board gets involved in it.
Right.
So that's a huge difference.
And it's not haphazard. It's not that they're just going to approve everything.
Right.
It's just the process is much simpler.
Yeah,
And
that's good. That's good.
And
So what else has changed? Let's say in the center, for instance.
they're going to be able to, in many communities that are developing mixed use. The idea of the mixed use is apartments above the business.
Yep.
And that
Successful just about everywhere it's been done.
everywhere.
Yep.
And what that does is several things. One feeds off the other. The apartments feed off the businesses, the business feed off the apartments. It also cuts down the need for parking because the people live there. It makes a more vibrant atmosphere because people are there all the time. They don't shut down, and therefore the businesses stay open later.
Right.
So that's a big piece of it.
Okay. I know there's a couple of other things I want to ask you. We probably have about a little more than 5 minutes, but one of the other things we wanted to mention is the school, the high school. What's going on with that whole thing?
The high school is on schedule. If the demolition is going on now, it's kind of a mixed feeling when you drive by. I didn't graduate from that high school. I graduated from the old one, but and now this is the old one. But anyway,
does that make you feel old?
No. So anyway, that process is moving along, and it's on schedule, and it's exciting. And I told them they better have it done on time because my granddaughter's going to be in the first graduating class from the new school.
That's cool. We were supposed to be the first graduating class from that school, believe it or not.
Okay.
The class of '65. But it turned out the infinite wisdom of the town meeting, the first year that it went to town meeting, they turned it down.
Right.
So the next year, it went to town meeting. And
oh, so you graduated from the old one?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
We were the last graduating class of the old high school. The original high school that was on the corner of now what'll be the temporary high school, which is now the middle school.
My mother graduated from there, and I
Yeah.
graduated from there,
Yeah.
and my kids did not graduate from there.
Remember the lunchroom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you thought you were kind of in a prison. Remember the walkway?
balcony around.
Used to be the gymnasium
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Couple of other things. Coughlin Park, I understand you've got some type of a...
Yep, Coughlin Park, the town manager and the grants coordinator got a $200,000 grant to
Nice.
completely renovate Coughlin Park, and that's in the process. And it's there's a push on it because it needs to be done before December 31st, or we lose the grant. But
Now, are they going to try to do something? Is that including, they talked about putting some type of a wall on the shoreline, because every time there's a storm?
that's a different grant.
Okay.
It's a repair. As you know, that soil came from Snake Island from
Yeah.
the dredging. They're going to repair the riprap with a different grant, but the $200,000 is for the, I believe, for the renovation of the
Good.
park.
Good. What else you got?
Mike Carney is still at it. When you drive over the bridge, the last time I was here, I thought that there had been some great improvements, but now Mike has added a big pier there that he told me the other day that he had a trailer truck drive over it filled, and it was built
It
for
didn't
that.
move, okay.
Yeah.
Now, he's going to use that for parking, I understand.
Yes, it'll be available for parking. He's not 100% sure, but it's strong enough for parking, and he doesn't want to put a whole bunch of barriers there that'll take away from the visual. But he's also putting floats where people come in with a boat and have access to the restaurant and the whole facility. The inn at Crystal Cove has had a huge, not too visible from the outside, but a huge interior renovation in that building too, and that's really, really impressive.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
The other part of Crystal Cove, the marina, Dan Curtin has done some significant work there too. If you go down there, it used to be old concrete slabs that they actually came off of the Mystic Bridge when they did it over. Now it's all like what Mike Carney did at his place, the big boulders. And it's not real visible from the street, but if you go around the backside, it is.
Now, eventually, that's going to be, there's public access there. Isn't that kind of like in the future,
Yeah.
kind of a walkway area?
Part of the walk Winthrop.
Yeah.
And if you go behind the Nautilus condominiums, that's on the left, but then there's a spit of land that used to be the railroad track that goes out and used to connect to the trestle. That's under a grant right now for a walkway with a gazebo out on the end. Mr. McKenna has very creative ideas, and he's bringing them to fruition.
Yeah. Have to get him on the show.
Yes,
he's been busy lately.
Interesting. Yes, he has. He has. Infrastructure, sidewalks.
Oh, I must say, before you even get there, I mean, this is, even when I was on the Board of Selectmen, the several different times I served, I have never, ever seen so much reconstruction of sidewalks in one season. It's amazing. I don't know how many streets I went down, and there was yellow tags and so forth. That's phenomenal. You would usually have to get your name on a list, and you would call DPW, and they'd say, well, you're on the list, but if you look at the list, you're probably maybe 2 years out, and so forth. This is fantastic. I mean, that's a big positive for the community.
There's still a list 2 years out, but they've really gone after it. And in fact, I wrote down some numbers. Last year, in 2013, there was 650 square yards of sidewalk poured, which was much more than ever before. Right. This year, there's 1,200 square yards being poured. And yeah, it's still a waiting list, but it's happening. It's looking good. The other creative kinds of things, we're getting the whole infrastructure done. Last year it was Bellevue and Sargent and Somerset, not Sargent. Now this year it's Plummer, Woodside, Sunnyside, Pico. Then they're going up on the hill to do Prospect and
good.
And when they're doing it, they're doing water, sewer, gas.
That's good.
So it's done.
Coordinated all at one time. We got about a little less than a minute.
Okay.
You mentioned something to me, the Green Community Grant.
Oh yes, there was a Green Community Grant again that was applied for, and it's Green Community for energy saving stuff. And the vast majority of it went into heating and cooling and energy stuff in the middle school and the Cumming school.
Good.
So not only do we get
save on some energy, that's the end result, obviously.
Not only do we get the grant to pay for it, but we're going to save money on energy.
Very good.
Yeah.
Peter, we're just about out of time, but I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you.
And thank
you. You and the council and the town manager, and of course, every member of the different departments in town that do so much work, DPW, police, fire, and so forth. The town looks good, very positive. We've had guests come in our town, to our house over the last couple of weeks, and they're all amazed at a lot of the positive thing that's going on in the community. These are people that have lived here before, and they've finally seen some positive changes.
We're hearing a lot of that, and I have to say it's the staff.
Yep.
We have a tremendous energy level and cooperation level among our committees and among our staff. It's really heartwarming to see.
Well, doing a good job.
Thank you very much.
We've been speaking to Peter Gill, the Town Council President. Until next time, this is Ron Vecchia saying so long.
Thank you, Ron.